That Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper, though.
He's gonna get you.
Gonna get you.
Gonna get you.
And death will come for us all.
Hey, it's Sue.
And Megan in the restricted section.
And today we're doing our November wrap-up.
Yes, and while we do that wrap-up, we're going to be drinking this Darker Than Your Soul Stout from Saugatuck Brewing Company, which again is in Douglas, Michigan.
We'll see if it's darker than our souls.
Our souls are pretty dark. I like that.
It's pretty good. It's got like a... How strong is this? It has a bit of a liquory. 6.5? That's not much.
It's kind of creamy, I think.
Yeah. Maybe just the first... For some reason, that first drink was kind of like...
See, my first drink was like really creamy, and then the second drink I could taste a little bit of liquor.
Really? Mine was the opposite. And we just drank like that maple or blueberry maple one, so that one was pretty sweet. So
yeah, and this one is not. So maybe that's what it is.
But it is good. I like it.
It's pretty delicious.
All right, so this will be a bit of a short wrap up.
Yeah, we had a rough reading month, y'all.
Yeah, and that's been like a hot topic on BookTube here is like reader fatigue. And I feel like maybe it's happening to me. Like, I think I've got a little bit of end-of-year burnout.
I think I do too.
From trying to read so much throughout the year. And I'm also down to, like, for my Read Harder Challenge, I'm down to, like the books that I put off. So I'm not really excited about any of them.
So it's hard to get motivated to read them. And I've had a lot of other things, like, going on. Because I've been, like, I went to Michigan to see my family, and then I've had like social engagements because I have a social life, which is nice. Yeah. Usually, and then also like I've just been busy at work, so I'm really tired. But
I honestly don't know what I've been doing with my time lately. I really don't know because I haven't really been watching that much TV. Maybe a little more than usual. But I also haven't been reading. You know what? I've been reading fan fiction.
I like how you were like,
I've been reading fan fiction.
That's still
and even
reading.
like rereading fan fictions that I've already read.
It's still reading.
But
yeah, I've just not been reading. I've just been doing other shit. So I read a grand total of 2 books in November.
I read 3, but one of them was an audiobook, so I didn't read it with my own eyeballs.
Your own eye boxes.
I actually fell asleep while I was listening to it and had just like I slept through like 5 chapters and I was
Wait,
like,
what?
oh fuck.
God damn it. So I think a book we both read in November was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood,
which was our book club pick for November, but then we weren't able to do a live stream on it, but we are planning to do that.
Yes.
Next weekend, I think. But so we both read The Handmaid's Tale. It was a reread for you.
It was. Yeah, it's definitely like, if not my favorite book, it's one of my favorite books.
And I read it for the first time, and I didn't love it.
I know.
I didn't love it. I'm sorry.
I know.
And for me, the writing style was really difficult for me to get into because there was like so many extraneous commas. And I think it was only when Offred was talking, which was most of the time. So I think it was like, you know, her, because you find out at the end, I guess I won't like spoil it, but basically she's narrating it. So, so I think that was supposed to be like her manner of speaking, I guess, but I don't know, it was rough for me because there was just so many commas where there weren't supposed to be commas. And also I don't know how I felt about the ending, about how like they don't know how they felt about it either.
They don't know how they did either. Yeah, like the first time I read the book, I feel like I had a different reaction to the ending, because the first time I read the book, I think I was like, you know what, I kind of like that, because that's kind of cool that they made it like this, you know, how they did, and that there weren't any answers and you didn't know.
Yeah.
And the second time I read it, I was like, this is still kind of cool, but like it's also pretty sad, and then I still wanted, like, I want to know more.
Yeah. I did like, one thing I did really like about the book is that Alfred was not like a big hero.
No,
she
was
kind
very
of
human.
Yeah, she kind of got comfortable where she was and stopped resisting, really. So I kind of liked that about it, because I think that she's more the way that most people would probably act in that situation.
Yeah,
if we be real about it, like we all want to think that we'd be a hero and that we'd you know, be part of the resistance or whatever, but
they were doing really horrific things to these people who were part of the resistance. And so if that's the reality that you live in, I mean, I think we all have some degree of self-preservation instinct.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I would love to believe that I would be like this big resistance hero, but I don't know that I would be. Like, I think it's very human to get comfortable, and even if you don't agree with what's happening, to just kind of keep your nose down and try to plug along.
Yeah, but I didn't like hate the book by any means. I thought it was good, and you know, really enjoyed the story. But I think that the thing that really got me was like the writing style. I just like was having such a hard time reading it, kind of, because I was just it was tripping me up so much. So I think I ended up giving it like 3.5 stars, because I like I said, I still enjoyed it and thought it was good, but I just didn't love it.
Yeah, I think I like had given it 4 stars in the past, and I think I re-rated it 5. Because I really like it. But Margaret Atwood's writing style in general is just kind of weird.
Yeah. I plan to read more by her, so we'll see. The only other thing I've read by her was The Tent, which is like a collection of just short works by her. And it, like, her writing style didn't bother me in it, but again, it was like really short pieces. But overall I found it like somewhat mediocre and kind of forgettable overall, but
well,
I liked The Handmaid's Tale better than that, I think. So the first book I actually finished in November was The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. I don't have a copy of it anymore because I returned it to the library, but this is about a little boy. He's like 12, I think, and he lives in London. And at the beginning of the book, his mother has just died of cancer, and so he's trying to get past that or whatever. And then shortly after, his father remarries and has a baby with this other woman, and the boy, David, I think was his name, is, you know, struggling with that and with feeling like his father, you know, didn't care about his mom or whatever, and is like not willing to accept this new woman and this new baby into their lives. And then, long story short, he gets sucked into this fairy tale world in his books.
Sometimes that occurs.
And it sounds like a children's book. It is not a children's book. It is dark as fuck. Like, some really fucked up stuff happens in it, and I was not really expecting that, for one thing, and it was kind of confusing because it seemed like a kid's book,
right? And
then you're reading it, and there's like this huntress who like kills hunts children, but she also likes to like take children, cut their heads off, and put their heads onto animals, and then hunt them, because children are smarter than animals, but animals are swifter, and so it's like more of a challenge for her.
That's real fucked up.
Yeah, so there's just all kinds of like really fucked up shit like that in there. And yeah, so he goes through this fairy tale land, and of course like learns some sort of lesson. But
like, don't put child's heads onto animals.
Yeah, that. But I didn't love love this book either. And like, again, I feel like maybe it's possible that it could just be that I'm experiencing kind of a slump and I'm like not really enjoying much of anything right now. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I think I gave it 3 stars, but it just was kind of to me.
Mediocre.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know, it was kind of fun in a really dark, twisted way, but I didn't love the ending. I feel like maybe I shouldn't have read the notes at the end. There was like a big chunk of notes, where he talks about, you know, what inspired all of the, you know, fairy tale elements, and there's things that aren't from fairy tales too, like Greek mythology, and I think he says that, like, the Huntress was inspired by the Most Dangerous Game, and, you know, he took inspiration from a lot of different places, but there's definitely, like, fairy tale, very heavily fairy tale influenced. But anyway, yeah, he talks about all that, but also, like, he talked about the book, and he does say, you know, like, it's up for the reader to interpret it however they want to, but it's clear that, like, in his head, this fairy tale land didn't actually exist. And that just, like, kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah, that's kind of like, because that's, like, the oldest, like, cop-out, I feel like. It's like, oh, it was all fake!
Yeah, but it's like, that's not really clear in the book.
Right.
So you could interpret it for yourself as if it was real, because, like, I won't spoil the ending, but yeah, he kind of says, he very much heavily implies that, like, to him, the author, this was not a real world. So that was, like, kind of a bummer, but it was interesting to read, like, the different, because he actually included, like, the fairy tales that he drew from, and so that was interesting to read. Also, some things that bothered me in it, which are, like, common things in fairy tales, so it makes sense that they're in there, but, like, there's some, like, really bad fat shaming. Like,
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Some really, and, you know, me as a fat person, I don't enjoy reading that.
No.
Because there's a part with Snow White, and in this story, Snow White is horrible, and she's like this big, fat, disgusting person who is, you know, awful, and the dwarves try to kill her. And so reading that section was, like, not fun for me, because I'm like,
right.
Oh yeah, fat people are so fucking gross, thanks.
Cool.
And then there's also, like, the Crooked Man, which kind of is that, you know, trope of, like, deformed people are evil, which is also harmful, but that's kind of goes with fairy tales, I feel like. Right. So, whatever, but yeah.
Oh dear. The only other book I read in November was I'm the Beggar of the World, which is Land Days from Contemporary Afghanistan, translated by Eliza Griswold and photographs by Seamus Murphy. This was a book I borrowed from Sue to fulfill one of my Read Harder challenges. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I liked the little, like, because it'll include, like, a land day, but then it will have, like, a little bit of historical context, like, on the other, or not historical, like, cultural context.
Yeah. Sometimes historical.
Yeah, sometimes historical. And so I really liked that, because I thought it was, because I don't know much about this particular culture. And so it was pretty cool to me to be able to see, to learn a little bit about it, and I thought it was neat. I liked it.
And the last book that I actually listened to on audiobook, let me just pull up the cover.
I got it up right here.
It's not gonna start playing, is it?
This is one.
Yes, it is. But I listened to Seasons of Love by Harper Bliss, which is a fake name if I ever heard one.
Oh, yeah. And also that makes me think of that song from Rent, or whatever it's from, the, like, 925,600 minutes.
Does it say something about
It says
bliss?
Seasons of Love.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to that on audiobook. It is a lesbian romance novel, and one of the challenges for the Read Harder Challenge is to listen to an LGBTQ romance novel, and I decided I wanted to listen to or read a lesbian one because I'd never read one before. I've read a gay, like, male-male romance novel, but I'd never read a lesbian romance novel. And you might have heard me talk about one called Finding Susan that I was gonna read. I got like 6% into that one I was reading it on my boyfriend's Kindle, and it was really bad. So I DNF'd that one pretty quick. Like, it was just, it wasn't like poorly written in that it was like grammatically bad or anything like that, but it was just like, this character had no personality. It was like reading an essay. So it was pretty bad. And also the premise of it seemed like really shallow. And like shallow, but also like a lot of hooey, because it was like spiritual crap.
Hooey.
But anyway, so I DNF'd that one and then decided to listen to this one on audiobook, and this one was actually kind of boring too. The premise is like, this woman, she's like 51 years old, she's like a workaholic, and she is like kind of prim and proper type of lady. Her best friend practically forces her to take a vacation and is like, go use my vacation home in Portugal. They're British, so they live in England somewhere. And so she does, but then her best friend's like, oh, but my daughter's gonna be there for a few days. Sorry. And so her daughter, who's like 29 years old and like a wild child, whatever, comes there and they fall in love. So there's like
they
a big
up on each other.
Yeah. So there's like a, fairly substantial age gap, like 22 years. So that's kind of a source of conflict. Also, this is her best friend's daughter, so that's a source of conflict. But other than that, there's like nothing going on. And also, like, the characters were just kind of, I feel like, cliche and boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't love it. I think I gave it 2.5 stars because it wasn't like super terrible or anything, but it was just kind of like, eh. And then also, like, reading this, I've learned that, like, I'm super not into vaginas.
They're not for everyone. I mean, I don't really care for them.
Yeah, it was just like, and maybe it's just that the book was boring anyway, and I wasn't emotionally invested in the characters at all. But like the sex was like not doing it for me.
not titillating.
No, it was not titillating to me. And also hearing this audiobook narrator who's like a very proper sounding British lady say, she licked my pussy.
No.
I was like, that doesn't sound sexy at all. Yeah, if anyone's read like a really good lesbian romance novel, let me know, because I don't think that it was like because it was a lesbian romance that I didn't enjoy it. It was just
not a great one.
Just the characters were not interesting to me, so yeah, I would be up for giving it another go.
Give the vaginas another shot, man.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's what we read for November. So thank you. Neither of us really had like a super exciting reading month.
Oh,
she's sneaky.
and I've thought about, because some people don't do monthly wrap-ups and they'll just do like recent reads, and it kind of like takes the pressure off of, oh, I gotta read
all these books,
a certain number of books in a month, and if I don't read a certain amount, then I feel bad. You know what I mean?
Right. No.
So I don't know. Maybe we could switch to doing that. Maybe not. I don't know.
That'd be fun.
Although I don't beat myself up too bad about only reading.
I don't really care.
Yeah. So
it is what it is.
Ooh, the pawpaws are cold.
These are cold pawpaws. She has cold pawpaws on your best.
I like this beer. This beer is pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
Darker than your soul.
This is a pretty decent brewing company, I feel like.
Yeah. We had, how many have you tried by them?
3.
I've had 2, right? Or did I have another one?
I think you might have tasted, because I think I had one in that 4-pack I had.
Yeah, seems pretty good. They make a good stout.
Well, how did you guys do in November? What did you guys get read? Were you pleased with the books that you read in November?
Yes. Have you guys been experiencing any reader fatigue? We've kind of been failing at our own readathon
We've
here.
been sucking it up on our readathon.
Yeah. So sorry for the 2 people who are participating.
For the 1.5 people who are actually participating, we apologize for letting you down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
Right.
But yeah, so
there'll be some links below, or you can find us other places on the internet.
and if you're not already subscribed to the restricted section, you should probably do it because we host some really exciting readathons.